When I was growing up, meditation was considered super weird. Eccentric people did it, people on the fringes of society. There was never a point where I was encouraged to do meditation. Finally, when I was in my early 20s, I decided, what the hell, let's give this thing a shot. I still really remember sitting down in my room in New York and closing my eyes and going into a more inward state. It was as if my forehead exploded with euphoria and joy and sensations I had never experienced before. I saw colors, I saw images. It was like I was traveling through time and space. So after I stopped, I was like, what the hell just happened? What is this? And so quickly I became hooked. So for a few years, I enjoyed going into my own head and seeing these colors and images and kind of tripping out. But what if I told you what I was doing was not supporting me? It was not helping me. It actually might have been harming me at the time. This is a video about meditation. What it is and what it is not, how it can help us and how it can harm us. Let's begin by defining meditation. For some reason, we don't really do this. We don't really talk about what meditation is. Instead, we have all these loosey-goosey floating interpretations of meditation. Meditation is a state of being, and it has three qualities. You need to have all three of these qualities to be in a state of meditation. These qualities are awareness, acceptance, and relaxation. Awareness is about having a bird's eye view about our own life. It is detaching from ourselves and creating a healthy distance, a healthy de-identification with who we are and what we are doing, so we can perceive ourselves a little bit more objectively. When we bring awareness to ourselves, there are three components that we can look at. The first is the physical body. So it is what we are physically feeling. Are we tense? Are we sore? Are we relaxed? So looking at the body and what it is doing. The next is the emotional component. Are we feeling sad, happy, neutral, mad? What is going on at an emotional level? And finally, there's the mental layer. So what are the thoughts going on inside of our head? When we bring this objective view, we start to have awareness of ourselves. I'll give you a quick example. Actually, yesterday, I was in a car accident in New York City. I was riding in a taxi cab and we got hit from behind. The moment that I got hit, because I've practiced this a lot, I tried to bring awareness to what was happening with me. We got hit and I felt physically the jolt of energy hit my lower back. Felt myself move forward. I tried to check in what was going on with my body. Okay, I had a little bit of soreness in my lower back, but I was uninjured. I was okay. Then I looked at my emotions. I was like, what am I feeling? So the first is shock. So I felt surprise. And then I started to notice I was feeling some fear and some anger. Okay, great. So this is where I'm at on an emotional layer. And then I looked at my thoughts. My thoughts immediately went to, oh my God, I'm gonna be late. Do I have to get another taxi? What's gonna happen? Are we in a serious car accident? So this is where the mind went. The mind starts to immediately perceive reality and create narratives and stories, interpretations, evaluations of what is happening. So this is what bringing awareness is to the three layers of our body, the physical, the emotional, and the mental, is just to understand this is happening to us. We can also have outward awareness, so we can really understand what's happening outside of ourselves in our environment. To do that, we have senses. So we can see with our eyes, we can hear with our ears, we can smell and taste. These are all the perceptions we have that bring us information about the outside world. We step outside, it's a sunny day, so I feel the warmth on my skin. A breeze comes in, it's cold, I can feel that again. Having awareness outside of ourselves of the situation is being tuned into these senses and understand what's happening as we move out. I'm currently in a mentorship program for nature connection, and part of that program we do animal tracking. So it's literally getting out in the forest and tracking animals as they're moving through the forest. And to do that, one needs to have incredible awareness of the environment. It is stretching outwards with our senses. So I'm listening to the birds to understand what they're communicating to each other. I'm looking down at the mud to see where the tracks are, where I might see feces. We can understand how an animal might move. It puts us tremendously outside of ourselves, so we can be aware of the environment. So awareness is the heightened ability to remove ourselves from being enmeshed in our own feelings and thoughts and understand what's happening inside and outside of ourselves. The second component is acceptance. Acceptance is all about receiving something without judgment. So if there is a stimulus, something occurs, it's a fact. We will have an interpretation of it, we will have a feeling about it. And the more we accept, the more we neutralize our response, our reaction, our instinct to that stimulus, to that event. So if we talk about the car accident I was in, that happened. It's a fact. How I relate with that incident am I judging it or am I not judging it? Am I accepting it or am I resisting it? If I go into the stories and the stress and the drama and the fear and the anger, then I'm in some kind of conflict, in some kind of tension with reality. Reality happened. It doesn't give a shit how I feel. But I can really start to toggle with, am I able to feel this and process it and move beyond the event? Or am I getting stuck in this emotional strategy, in this mental strategy of being in resistance? So let's take the car accident yesterday in the taxi cab. The event occurred. It happened. Reality occurs. Now I can accept reality for what it is and adjust, or I can be in some kind of resistance or fighting this reality. When the shock occurred and the emotions come up, I can accept that I'm feeling fear, I can accept that I'm feeling anger, and I can accept that my mind is going into a stress state. I don't need to change it per se, because in the act of acceptance, those things melt away slowly. They kind of dissipate. But if I identify with the thought or identify with the emotion, I really cling to it, like this is my strategy, then I'm gonna be in a fight with reality. I'm gonna be trying to fight what's happening. The event occurred, I cannot change it. If I get pissed off, it's not gonna change the fact that the event occurred. If my mind goes into all this crazy control, it's not gonna change the fact that I'm gonna be late for my appointment. So am I gonna accept what happened or am I gonna fight it? Acceptance allows us to glide through life much more easily because we're really in full receptivity of what is happening in reality and not in a constant fight with it. The third component of meditation is relaxation, and we really miss this one a lot. The body really needs to be relaxed. If the body is tense, if the body is on, you're not going to be able to be in meditation. We need to let go. This is really a state of receptivity. So we need to be flowy, relaxed, and let it all go. When we carry this stress, when we carry this tension, it impacts our ability to make good decisions. We're constantly agitated and moving from a state of emotion. When we can relax, it allows our body a chance to allocate resources to other physiological processes. Relaxation, rest are really important. If you're not sleeping, cannot meditate your way out of poor rest and recovery. You really need to take care of your body. You really need to rest and sleep. Relaxation is vital to meditation. So for one last time, let's think about that example of the car accident I had yesterday. I was thankfully well rested. I had slept well. I just came off vacation. So I was very relaxed, rested. So I was able to move through that incident without a lot of stress. But imagine if I'd only slept 2 or 3 hours or had been a really stressful week at work. The chances of me freaking out are much higher and the chances of me then regulating are lower. Just think about the last time you didn't sleep that much. Jet lag, all-nighter, had to wake up early. Did you notice that there are a lot more intrusive thoughts? That the mind is just constantly active, constantly going through all its operations again and again and again. When we are not rested and an event occurs, the chances of regulating and responding rationally are much less. We need rest to be at our best. So what is meditation not? There are 4 things on how we get meditation wrong. The Western world has completely bastardized, exploited, and capitalized the shit out of meditation. And so we think we're doing meditation because that's what we've been told, but it's not really the real thing. We're doing some pseudo or completely fake version of meditation. The first is mindfulness. So mindfulness, it's even in the name, mindfulness. It's all about being in your head. It's all about, can I track my thoughts? Can I track how I'm doing in my head? Mindfulness very rarely goes into the body, and mindfulness very rarely goes outside the body. So it's focused just on the mind and just tracking the thoughts. There is some benefit to this, but it's not meditation. Corporations have seized on mindfulness. It seems like a much more acceptable, palatable, less eccentric thing in the workplace, but you don't get the benefits of meditation by doing mindfulness. They're just 2 different things. And the other spin that gets placed on mindfulness is that it's all about increasing productivity. It's gonna make us more efficient, more effective, more productive. We're strapping a goal to mindfulness. So mindfulness is all about the outcome and the output. And that means we're not in meditation, which is all about receptivity, acceptance, relaxation, awareness. Second is concentration. So we confuse meditation with just concentrating very hard. Again, this goes to the performance aspects of meditation, that we can be better at work, better at sports, by just really focusing really hard. So we sit down and we just think really hard on one thing. So often what we hear in meditation is that we see our thoughts like clouds. and we can watch those clouds. And some folks go really intense. I'm gonna focus on those clouds. I'm gonna make sure that I'm focusing on those thoughts. That is not meditation. There is very little relaxation in that, and there's not a ton of acceptance in it. So concentrating can be an awesome thing when you're trying to solve a problem. But let's just be honest, we are concentrating and focusing on something. Even if it's not with our hands and we're not moving around, we're still doing with the mind. There's still a very active, goal-oriented direction we're moving in. The third is rumination. So rumination is when you go around in circles. You get stuck in a problem and stuck analyzing a problem, and you're just kind of moving in circles and circles and circles, just repeating the same story, information over and over and over again. Many people get stuck in rumination. I have gotten stuck in rumination many times, where you get in a conflict with someone, so you replay it again and again and again. What would I say? What would I do differently? And rumination is probably one of the least productive things we do intellectually, because we're just replaying something over and over again. We're getting very agitated emotionally, and we're not moving forward. It's not productive thinking, and we're sure as hell not receiving something. We're just stuck. It's another version of analysis paralysis. Finally, number 4 is contemplation. Contemplation is beautiful. It is journaling. It is taking a stroll and thinking about something. To contemplate is to be an active form of thinking, musing, being leisurely, and looking for patterns. Journaling can be an amazing thing that we can do, but it's not meditation. It's still an active form. Even in the act of journaling, it's very clear we're doing something. I'm writing. But even if you don't journal, that same way of thinking, contemplating, is active form. For sure, it's more relaxed and there's some awareness, but it's still an active form of doing the thing. So all 4 of these, mindfulness, concentration, rumination, contemplation, they more or less have their time and their place and their benefits, but they're not meditation. All right, so you might ask me, where do I begin? How do I actually meditate? There are 2 more things we need to discuss before we go into meditation. The first is many people rely on techniques and tools to be able to meditate. And each school has a technique, has a tool that they're selling to you. Techniques and tools are awesome. It really helps us create a way into ourselves, but not every tool is for every person. One of the ways we go wrong is we get super attached to a tool, to a technique. We start to form a community, a business, an identity around that tool. We sit and say, I have to have a mantra. I have to sit in this perfect lotus position. So we start to feel superior to other techniques. That is the opposite of meditation. Being superior, judging, is not a state of acceptance. Do not get too attached to a technique. Use them to support you and then drop them. If a technique helps you go in and drop in, do it. Do it for a day, for a month, for 10 years. But the moment it's not helping you or you're getting attached to it, drop it, flush it. This book has 112 meditation techniques. It is thick, and this probably doesn't even start to scratch the surface. But if I were to get attached to just one of these 112, I would be doing myself a huge disservice and would not be supporting myself. Find what works for you and then do it, and then drop it. Have fun, experiment, explore, enjoy it. That is what meditation can be. The second thing people need to understand is that each body is different. So what the body needs to be in the state of meditation will be different. We all need different things to relax. Some people it's in nature, some people want to be alone, others in a group, others want to have a massage. For some, it's playing sports. We all need different things to relax. We all need different things to feel receptive. So find what works for you. I'll give you 3 examples to see how different approaches could support you. I was working with one guy, his name was Nick, and for the life of him, he said, I cannot meditate. But I knew the guy, so I asked him, hey Nick, do you like fishing? He's like, yeah, I like to go fishing. And when you're fishing, what do? He's like, oh, I like to go alone. I don't bring music or anything. It's just really what helps me connect to something I did as a kid. So I said, when you're fishing, are you aware of what's happening? Yeah, I'm really scanning the environment. I know kind of where I'm at. I was like, are you in your head and fighting something and resistance? He's like, no, I'm kind of a blank slate. I said, are you relaxed? He's like, it's the most relaxed I ever am. That's it, man. That's meditation. Can you, for a moment, just for a minute, can you tap into what it feels like as if you're fishing? And he sat down And it blew his mind. Whoa, I'm tapping right into myself. I was working with a woman who was more hyperactive. So anytime she sat down to meditate, her mind would start to go crazy, to do. Body was fidgeting. She had a lot of energy. And so I asked her, hey, I know you run. Have you ever meditated after a run? No, she said. She never tried it. Why don't you experiment with it? Just do a little game. So next time she went for a jog, she went for a run, and she came back and she sat down to meditate. And again, it blew her mind. She was able to really tap in and relax. She had to move her energy first before she could be still. So for some people, just sitting and being in tension with ourselves is not going to be meditation. Go outside, have fun, run, play, do sports, and then sit. That can be a beautiful way to meditate. Finally, I'll tell you about myself. In the beginning of the video, I said I was sitting down, I was tripping out on colors and images in my head, but I was doing something wrong. I was not in my body. I was not at all focused on the emotions that I was experiencing. In the spiritual community, people who do a lot of meditation, they call this bypassing. So instead of going to the body, to the emotions, you just want to play around in the head. And that's what I was doing. I was likely doing more of a form of mindfulness, which was very fun and enjoyable, and I took pleasure in it, but I was bypassing all my issues, all my problems. I was carrying so much stress, so much tension that I was not dealing with. I had so many emotions that I was not dealing with. So by just staying in my head, having fun with trippy colors, I was doing myself a huge disservice because I thought I was meditating and supporting myself, but everything was staying the same or even getting worse in my life. So what has worked for me? The best meditations I have found for me and my body type are called active meditations. They're designed to be in motion, to be in action. And then finally, after you release a lot of energy, you can sit down and meditate. And I found these are the most potent, most powerful, most life-changing meditations I have ever done in my life. But everyone has an access point. I really believe that as children, we knew how to tap this state. Before school wrung us out and made us into good little soldiers, children know how to access receptivity. So we each have something different. In the case of my friend Nick, it was fishing. In case of the woman I was working with, it was going for a jog. For me, I love swimming. When I was a kid in Greece, I would go swimming all the time. I'd love to do it alone. And I could spend an hour in the ocean by myself. And in that moment, I was really relaxed. I was like a blank slate, just enjoying myself. For anyone that knows me, before a swim, I can be sometimes grouchy and irritable, in a bad mood. After a swim, I'm like a completely new person. I'm joyful, I'm present, I'm relaxed, I'm full of life and vitality. My most creative moments come from swimming. This video came from swimming. When I was on vacation last week, I wasn't trying to write a video. I had no plan for this video. It wasn't on my agenda or schedule to talk about meditation, but I was swimming and enjoying myself in the ocean. And then all of a sudden, like a lightning bolt, I had a download. Wow, this whole video came to me in a minute. So I did a voice memo on my phone, recorded the entire thing, and now I'm shooting it for you today. So a whole video done in a minute. No effort, no doing. It really came because I was in a receptive state. I was in a flow state. And so we hear about these geniuses, Einstein, Steve Jobs, where ideas come to them and they're able to be visionary. What they're tapping into is this state. It is just being receptive. And we all have this superpower. We've just been trained out of it.
All told, we were in there about 6 hours. And no, I was not meditating. I just stood there quietly breathing. There were no thoughts in my head whatsoever. My mind was blank. I don't know what the hell these other crackpots are doing.
In order to be the next Steve Jobs, the next Einstein, all we need to do is simple. It's to slow down, to be aware, to accept what is, and to relax. That is where our creativity comes from. That is where our superpowers come from. It is accessible to everyone. Just find what works for you. Is it being in nature? Is it running? Is it yoga? Is it just sitting down and being still for a moment?
Ron, you radiated mindfulness. What were you thinking about?
I wasn't thinking at all.
Incredible. It takes a ton of work for me to get to that kind of a clear headspace, no matter how hard I try.
Don't try so hard.
Don't try so hard. Ron, I'm going to try your not trying method right here, right now.
We all have the capacity to just take a breath. To take another breath. To feel ourselves let down a bit. To just be in ease. To just know we're right here. I'm in my body, and my body is safe right now. My body is safe. And I can just be. Nothing to do, nowhere to be. You don't have to bring all of these concepts. You don't have to bring all the tools and techniques. You don't even have to call it meditation. Just sit silently and enjoy.